Aquaculture is growing fish in a contained setting, controlled environment, very similar to how we grow chickens and hogs here in the United States. It also creates an opportunity to move away from wild capture fisheries as those continue to be overfished and depleted. At the same time, it creates a new market demand opportunity for U.S. soybean farmers.
Fish populations across the world have been decimated by overfishing, and the demand for seafood is increasing dramatically as we become more health conscious. Normally fish eat other fish, and so we feed fish meal to the fish in captivity, but the supplies of fish meal are it's not there. Plus it's very expensive. So we're trying to use soybeans for that, and we're doing research toward that end to provide adequate ration for the fish as a substitute to the fish meal.
So some of the research that the Soy Aquaculture Alliance has funded, we've looked at trout and salmonoids, we've looked at shrimp, and really just trying to identify what the key nutritional requirements are for these various species, and so we can increase the inclusion rates of soybean meal in those diets. We've also worked with our partners at USDA, ARS, and the University of Idaho, and they have developed a strain of trout that grows specifically on plant-based diets and using soybeans as the primary source for the protein. And those fish are now in their 9th generation, have now been released into commercial production, and so those are a group of fish that the Soy Aquaculture Alliance has been a part of the funding on those.
Without the research, soybeans are not compatible. Generally, fish need final rations close to 50–60% protein, as opposed to hogs that are like 12 to 20%. And they take that bean meal and bring it up to 70% protein by adding enzymes and taking out a little bit more of the oil and other anti-nutritionals they take out of it. It's fairly pricey, but it's still more competitive than fish meal.
The bulk of the U.S. trout industry is in Idaho. We've got the southern U.S. catfish farmers. And what's really exciting is we're starting to see a lot of land-based salmon operations starting to explore opportunities here in the United States. There's a big facility that actually has fish in the water in Miami, Florida. There's multiple operations announced in Maine, now a new one on the West Coast. And then here in Indiana, we actually have the first genetically modified livestock production in the Aqua Advantage salmon being raised here in Indiana. Internationally, I mean, China is by far the largest producer of aquaculture. The entire Southeast Asia, there's a lot of aquaculture grown there. And we're starting to see a lot of growth in the Americas region. There's been a lot of investment off the coast of Mexico to be able to service the domestic market here.
Over 90% of our fish consumed in this country is imported from other countries, whether it's wild caught or farm raised, we're importing it. For the way we can produce food in this country, why is that the case? Why do we let that happen? Our food standards are much higher than they are in Southeast Asia, and that's where a lot of our fish comes from. If we could produce it here, it would meet our standards better than it does currently.
The opportunity is there, and as we continue to look growing this opportunity, it's a new emerging market for our soybean farmers.